think we should start today's session. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today on this SEACAP for SDG training session that, as you know, we are trying to showcase the outcomes that were selected from previous projects that were funded through the different European initiatives. Today we have with us the ESMES project and Ms. Julia Siskilone. And she's going to talk to us about how the ESMES project was able to have some school context and how it was visualized in order to be used for energy efficiency. This is the first part of today's training session, and as the second part of today's training session, we have with us the STEPPING project and Mr. Cyril Denigris from the Pimienta region. So thank you all of you for joining us today. We start the first session with Ms. Julia Siskilone and the ESMES project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Panagiotis. Thank you so much for the presentation. I will try to share my screen. Hopefully it will work. Let me know if you can see the presentation.
Now we can see your screen, and now we can see the presentation in full mode.
Okay, perfect. I just try to move this one. Okay, so good morning, everyone, again. Thank you so much for involving ESMES project in these training sessions. My name is Julia Siskilone. I am the coordinator of ESMES, and I work for ICU, that is Institute of University Cooperation. Our HQ is based in Rome, and we have office in Tunisia and in Jordan. So I coordinated the project 1 year from Jordan, and now I moved to Tunisia to do it from here. So I will start giving you a brief presentation about the project we are talking about and the outcome that we have selected. So ESMES stands for Energy Smart Mediterranean School Network. So as you can see, we are focusing in our project in public school buildings. The thematic objective is the environmental protection, climate change adaptation and mitigation, and it's part of the priority of energy efficiency and renewable energy. The project was supposed to start to last actually 3 years. It was then extended because of COVID reasons and challenges we faced during the implementation time. The project is implemented in 5 countries. So we have Jordan, Italy, Spain, Tunisia, and Lebanon. So we have 2 European countries and 3 Mediterranean partner countries. ICU, as we said, is the lead beneficiary, so I represent them. In Jordan, the German Jordanian University that has a lot of experience in monitoring driven rehabilitation. They are a public body and a public institution. Then we have the Alcamo municipality that is located in Sicily, in the region of Sicily, which have experience in school energy management and directly. In Spain, the University de la Ribera, which is a group, a consortium of municipalities in the Ribera region of Valencia that have direct experience in policy development. In Tunisia, here we have l'ANEME, that is the National Agency for Energy Management. They do a lot of rehabilitation planning policy. They also join a lot of projects of the NICBC Med program as well. And then we have the Lebanese Center for Energy Conservation in Lebanon that has experience in the implementation of renewable energy and energy efficiency rehabilitations. So this is the partnership, as you can see, and I will give you just a brief introduction of the project that, as you may know, is divided between work packages, as some of the other projects of the program. Package 4 and package 5 are directly related to the rehabilitation. So first we will have a rehabilitation plan of all the schools, and then in WP5 we go to the installation of renewable energy and energy efficiency measures. So we are actually in the phase of installing pilot in several schools of these 5 countries. We also have a work package that is number 3 that is related to institutional capacity building. So it's the soft, let's say, part of the project that is composed by a lot of documents, draft that we will need to publish, and we are also ongoing on this side. But today we will concentrate on WP2, that is, let's say, the less technical package of the activities. Is the one where we really involve the schools and really involve the students in activities related to energy management. So this is why we chose this package for today's presentation, because it's a bit different maybe than other technical implementation or presentations that I'm sure you received. This is a more soft activities, but I want to show you the results and how it was implemented in the different countries. So the contest, the activity we are talking about is a school context that is implemented in 34 public schools of the areas that we already mentioned, to raise student awareness on the importance of adopting sustainable energy behaviors, and of course to improve their behavior in reduce the energy consumption at school. This also had an impact, of course, training students had an impact on their behavior at with their families at home. So actually the impact was bigger than what we were just planning to have, which is really nice. And of course we chose to have the students involved because they are future professional. They can really make an impact on the future in the energy savings. And usually it's a topic that it's not really taught to students, it sometimes was kids as well. So we found that involving this kind of beneficiaries was really impacting the project. So the school context activity, as said, is implemented in 34 schools divided between all the partner countries. So we had 6 schools in Jordan, we have 6 schools in Sicily, Alcamo, we have 9 in Spain, we have 8 in Tunisia, and we have 5 in Lebanon. The output, so to achieve this output, of course, we had a different set of activities that you see in this slide, and we will go one by one to present all of them. But just a brief introduction on the financial side. So the total budget of this output was around 90,000 euros. So with regards to the first activity, so how did we implement this activity in the countries? The first step was actually to install smart meters in all the 34 schools involved in the contest. So these, of course, had a lot of delay, unfortunately, because of procedure, because all our partners are public institutions. So sometimes there was some administrative delays. But once this step was achieved, we could start with the contest. So once all the schools were equipped with smart meters, the students were organized in each school in energy teams. Energy team is a group of teachers and students selected that will have to run actually the contest themselves. So to do that, of course, they received the training at the beginning from our partner organization that trained them on different level, on different topics, of course, all related to energy savings, but also they trained them on how to read the smart meters data acquisition system, because this was, of course, linked together. And what did they need to do? They need to sensitize the students of all the schools to adopt the sustainable energy habits. So let's say there was this group of students in each school, and they had to spread the message that they learned through the training to all the other classes of the school. So it's a methodology that, of course, is used many times in this way to train a little group of people that also will train a higher amount of people involved. On the same side, on the same time, the German Jordan University, it's the Jordanian partner, designed and implemented the data acquisition system. So they created an online platform that was able to connect to almost all the schools to acquire all the data of the consumption registered from the smart meters. So this online platform system, data acquisition system, was created, and of course there were challenges in connecting some of the schools in all the countries. We are still facing some challenges in that with some of the partner countries, but the majority are connected. The majority of schools are connected, which means that if you access to this online platform, you will get the data of consumption of 34 schools in 5 different countries, which is an interesting tool also as a starting point to make some studies, to make analysis, and whatever you can do with a lot of data like this. So on the other side, coming back to the contest, the energy team, of course, supported by the partners, were able to diagnose these energy patterns to address students and school staff behavior, and taking into account, of course, the changes of the conditions, climate conditions, time of opening and closure of the schools. So they were monitoring the trends and they were fostering students to improve their behavior through internal awareness raising. So what I saw, for example, is that they were analyzing the data from the smart meters. They were realizing, for example, that the lights of the schools were left on during the night. So they went to the manager of the school and director, they discussed about it, they decided to take actions out of that. So it was actually a very collaborative set of activities that they kept implementing. To say the 34 schools, now we have a collection of data that is, of course, helping the partners to design the energy rehabilitation plan. And this was also done with the support of the students. So the students supported and proposed some ideal measures to be implemented in their own school. This period, of course, this contest ran for a few months. It depends on the country. Sometimes we had a contest 1-2 years going on. Sometimes it was a few months. But in the end, of course, there was a school selected among each country. That was the one that performed better in terms of energy savings. So this was the general idea. So to award the school that was performing better, of course, there were cases where we decided to award the school for another reason, but this was the general idea of the contest. We see now a few examples of the countries specifically, and I want to show you some pictures and giving you a bit more details of what happened following this strand of activities that we talked about. So as you can see, this is the smart meter data acquisition system installed in all the schools in Jordan in this case. And then, as we said, we can monitor the energy consumption to raise awareness and enhance the efficient use of energy resources. And again, all the school students and director had access to the online platforms where the data were stored. So they could really monitor what was happening in their building. This was the training that was done to the energy teams that were able to gather the data, that could check the energy consumption, that could really identify if energy leaks, waste, or overuse, and suggest ways, as the example that I gave you before. And of course, at that point, it was also interesting to compare between schools how the consumption was working. This was another training that was delivered by the JJU experts in presence. Of course, don't forget that we talk about years where COVID pandemic was unfortunately there. So they needed to find, of course, solutions to overcome the challenge. In this case, some of the countries need to wait a bit more to launch the contest. In some other cases, they managed to find alternative solutions, as we will see later. So at the end, the energy teams were asked to submit a plan, actually, based on the data acquisition that they've done. In this report, they should include need analysis. They should think about what were the energy efficiency measures more adaptable to their building. And then a commission was evaluating the proposals according to the school's need, the quality of proposal, the proposal applicability. And in this case, for example, in Jordan, the awarding school was also a school that was winning another part of the grant and activities that we have on another work package to get a real rehabilitation of the school. These are a few pictures of the energy team training in Italy, in Sicily. Here as well, they had to wait until COVID measures were a bit released. If not, for them, it was really difficult to implement this activity. And these pictures are the day where we organized the final event and the selection of the contest winner. So you can see the students were presenting their ideas. They were really involved. I was present in this during this day. They were really involved in this activity. So they showed us how they implemented and they ran the contest. So they showed us that they made a lot of questionnaires to all the people from the school, around 500 students, asking them and acquiring an idea of what was the level of knowledge of energy savings in the students of their age. And according to what they discovered, they decided to do some other actions. In this case, the evaluation criteria we used to define the winner was the number and quality of the awareness actions, and the originality to award their ability to let's say to take to invent kind of ideas to involve the rest of the school, how to improve the baseline situation. So of course all the schools, they started from a baseline that was collected at the beginning of the project, and then they're comparing with the data acquisition system, they were able to propose ideas to improve the baseline, the situation at the beginning. And of course, it was rewarded the involvement of the education community in the project. So also sometimes, for example, in this picture, you see the teacher. There was really a guy involving the rest of the teachers, the rest of the families of the students. So it was a really nice presentation that they have done. Spain is our particular case because they actually had the chance not to close the schools during COVID time. So they were the first one implementing the contest, of course, with several challenges. And they also involved the highest number of schools. They had 9 schools distributed in the Ribeira region close to Valencia, in these municipalities you see in the pictures. They had several face-to-face trainings, so they were able, even with COVID, to provide information and explain the collection of data and energy saving tips. And they will, of course, also had virtual meetings with the school board to coordinate the contest and support teachers and see if there were any need to be there. In this case, the awarding criteria was actions in terms of interesting and better sustainable activities on energy waste and water conductive, because since the COVID was there, the COVID pandemic was still there, it was expected an increase of energy consumptions of school if compared with the previous year. So it means that we could have not awarded the school that was consuming less, because they took into account already the fact that the energy consumption would have been a bit higher, because of course the use of classroom was higher ventilation rate, hygienic measures that were more involved in the daily life of students. So in this case, we used another awarding criteria. So as of course we know the school activities were really affected. How in this case, with the fact that the training session had to be reduced in terms of time and assistance, the energy team were not able to visit the rest of the school where the contest was implemented, because of course the measures were there. A lot of lockdowns, of course, were repeated. And as we were saying just before, the energy baseline was not reliable compared to the energy profile, as well as it was not possible yet to organize a proper event with the members of the energy team. And of course, they were the only ones, so they could not, in this case, this activity, really use the cross-border cooperation dialogue that we actually have in the project to compare their activities with the one of the other partners. Still, it was successful and a successful activity. They managed to conduct the contest entirely. The energy teams were actually really involved with the rest of the school community. They did a lot of presentation surveys. They published some energy savings tips videos. They created steering committees integrating the school community to continue actually this activity inside the schools. They were able to develop a school sustainability and efficiency plan. They sorry. They managed to, of course, publish a lot of communication material, and they are still understanding on how to implement this activity in the future to keep track of this, because it's a topic that should be really taught, teach in the schools and to students of that age. This is a video of students. I can show you just a few seconds. So this is just to show you of the activities they conducted, giving a presentation in front of all the other students, presenting the results of the contest. Now we go to the case of Lebanon, where, of course, challenges were higher than all the other countries, and I would say that this was really like the lesson learned that we should take are from this case, because in all the challenges they had in this moment in their country, they really managed to succeed in implementing this activity. So the school selection was based on geographic climatic zones in Lebanon, as you can see from the map. So one school for a total of 5 was selected in each different area. Plus it was selected École des Arts et Métiers, that is a technical school that is also a beneficiary of other activities of the project, because it has a non-linear load. These are some pictures of the school selected. I think what SEC did is to really involve communication activities in the contest. So they presented a lot of these contexts in a really involving way for the students. They were really involved in the activity. So regarding the trainings that they have organized, they did 2 different kind of trainings. One's for the elementary students in public school, and another one for the technical students in the École des Arts et Métiers. So the first group received an online training. They were going through a visual art contest, and they were managed to publish an energy efficiency tips video, whereas the technical students were receiving a more technical trainings, so on PV and on energy audit. They also received the training on the project guidelines and how to achieve energy savings, in addition to the type of renewable energy and the importance of reducing greenhouse gases. So students of all these energy teams spread the learned information among their students, the other students, the families, to really adopt the sustainable energy measures. As we said, they also use the idea of implementing a visual art contest, of course, also to overcome the challenges present and given by COVID. So the students submitted their best visual art representation, including sketches, paintings, on renewable energy efficiency. And the best submission were featured on LCC social media channels and website. There is also a video that is very nice. Yeah, so you see that the communication side was really a tool used by the partner to implement the activity, as well as another video on energy efficiency. So, of course, when it comes to challenges, we cannot forget about the security threats, the economic collapse and political instability, of course, the COVID pandemic, period plus, and severe shortage in electricity, fuel, and internet supply, which, of course, affected not only this activity, but all the rest of activity on the ESMOS project. The lack of fuel, of course, didn't help the staff, even from ministries, LCC, teachers to participate to the activity. So there was really an effort, a joint effort by everyone. And for this reason, of course, LCC decided to conduct online training, awareness raising sessions, and this idea of the visual art contest, of course, helped not depending on electricity and on internet availability. The achievements are, of course, presented by the Lebanese case, but they are valid for all the other schools. So there was this degree of awareness raising on global warming, climate change, energy use and application, energy sector in Lebanon, and renewable energy. Of course, the improvement of energy habits in the daily life of students and their communities, and the increased skills of solar PV design and sizing given different sites condition and load profile, because we said they were following the track of the smart meter and data acquisition system, and increased awareness on the importance of energy audit, methodology of work, steps to follow in order to compute and break down the energy consumption and baseline data. So a kind of trainings that usually people from this age, students from this age, don't really receive. So I think it was a really valuable activity. So my presentation, as you saw, was not in the technical, not concentrating on the technical part, but it was a general overview of our activities conducted under ESMES. If you would like to have more information about selection of the schools or how the partners overcame the challenges, these are the contacts of the people involved, of our partners. I only underline that I didn't present the contest in Tunisia because it's still starting now. They had a lot of delays for several different reasons. So there will be also this part of activities. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Julia, for showcasing what was done in the ESMES project regarding, of course, the school contest and how the kids had the chance to showcase and learn about energy efficiency with the help of the project, the involved municipality, and of course the school. I have a question about, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, about the selection process of the school and the municipality. Can you clarify how this was done? Because I understand that as an EU project, you had project partners that decided what cases can be implemented and where. But were there also some underlying criteria regarding the schools or the participation of the kids, for example, based on their age, etc., etc.?
I try to reply to your question. I was not there since the beginning of the project where they actually decided how to conduct the part of selection. What I know is that it depended a bit on the country. So sometimes, for example, in Sicily, the Alcamo municipality chose the public schools that could have been involved. But for example, in the case of Spain, which is a consortium of municipalities, they offered, like they applied to the possibility of participating in this activity. So it was, from one side, it was coming from the partner, from the other side was coming from the schools itself. For Tunisia, for example, the school selection is always, as well as in Jordan, is the Ministry of Education that supports in the selection criteria and the selection of schools. And this is valid also for the choice of the schools that will be rehabilitated, because remember that we are talking about public schools. So, of course, this is always done jointly with municipalities or ministry or whoever is in charge of managing the schools on public level, of course. Yes, and for Lebanon, I think the ministry also was involved, but then they chose to have different climatic zones as presented in the slide.
Okay, thank you very much, Julia, for your answer.
You.
And something else that I understand that the project is have yet to finish. You mentioned that it's going to be completed on August.
To finish in August, yes.
Yeah. I was wondering if you have done like a survey of how successful we can say the project and the contest was based on previous information. For example, what was done previously in the school, etc.? How much
Yes.
did they know and how it was improved? That's what I'm asking. Did you have
Yes.
some kind of process like that?
So we hadn't yet. I think it was done more from the partner to the schools, because, for example, having and receiving the works of the students in terms of proposing a rehabilitation plan, this was already a way to measure how, for example, the knowledge improved during the contest or not. So as well as some of the classes implemented some questionnaires to be done that they did to all the rest of the school. But we will include this part on the evaluation of the project, because it will be one of those outputs that it will be very interesting to measure at the end. So we are waiting to conclude also the activities in Tunisia, and this will be for sure included in our evaluation.
Okay, thank you very much, and for your participation and for showcasing us what has been done in ESMES, and of course, you answering our questions. Is there another question for the participants that we would like to have for Mrs. Kilon at this time regarding the ESMES project? Okay, perfect. So I believe the participants have all been filled in with your project, and of course, the contest that was one of the main outcomes that we also selected to be showcased in the SEACAP for SDG. So I thank you very much for coming today, and we will.
Thank you very much.
Of course, if we have any more questions, the participant as well as the project itself, in order for us to use your expertise and some of the results, we can say, from ESMES in our projects as well, since we will try to influence and help selected municipalities in our area regarding energy efficiency, in specific cases, even buildings. So thank you, Julia, for coming today.
Thank you, Panajota. We are always available if you have any questions, and we could go also more in details for the parts that you need, and we will support if you will need it for sure. Thank you so much.
And I noticed from your presentation that one of the project partners from ESMES project is also a project partner in the SEACAP for SDG project in Lebanon. So maybe, yes. Yeah. So maybe this is an opportunity to always use the selected outcomes in a further level and exchange more on these ideas and how it can be used, intervened with the projects. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you again.
We can now have a small break for the participants as well, and then in 10 to 15 minutes, we can continue with the second part of the session with Mr. Silvio De Nigris and the Stepping Project. Thank you very much. Silvio, let me know if you agree.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, perfect. So
we start at 11, if I understood.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. We are having a small break, everyone, and we'll be back with a Stepping Project. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, everyone. We are back. Sorry for the little delay. I was having a connection issue. Thank you, everyone, for coming today as well, and for being here the second part of today's session. As I mentioned earlier, today we also have the Stepping Project with us, and Mr. Silvio De Nigris for the Piemonte region. And he's going to showcase us the project, as well as the outcomes that were selected to be part of the SEACAP for SDG toolkit. As we mentioned earlier, as you know, SEACAP is trying to capitalize on the selected reference projects, and for Stepping, two outcomes were selected: the Mediterranean EPC guidelines and the EPC training package. So today we have with us Mr. Silvio De Nigris to showcase us the Stepping project, and in order for us to have the opportunity to see if we can use these outcomes for our project as well. So thank you very much. Mr. Silvio De Negris, the floor is yours. You can begin your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for inviting me. And so I will do my best not to bore you too much with this this project and outcomes. My presentation will be quite different from what we heard before. I can start sharing the screen and then I go through the presentation. Here we are. So Stepping was a project that already finished 2 years ago, but then we had a follow-up. The Interreg program selected Stepping for a Stepping Plus follow-up, which means that the project was selected as one of the outstanding, let's say, examples that needed to have a follow-up and to enlarge the transferring of the results of the project. This Stepping Plus project has been finished a few months ago. I say finished because from formal point of view, the project is over and we are in the reporting phase, but the additional results that we have been implementing with this Stepping Plus are still there, and we achieved some important steps that maybe I will mention later on. So the project is about APC, as mentioned by in the introduction. APC stands for Energy Performance Contract, which is a different way, I would say, to finance energy efficiency investment. Okay, I don't know if you are familiar with the concept of APC, but I would like to start my presentation diving into this, just to make sure that we speak the same language. So what is an energy performance contract in a nutshell? So as written here, is the basic principle of energy performance contracting is that energy efficiency investments are paid for over time by the value of energy savings achieved. So what does it mean? It means that the investment is paid by energy savings, and this is done over time. So while you are signing for energy performance contract, you should go for a contract that lasts for several years, and the concept behind, the rationale behind, is that the energy efficiency measures, they will bring some energy saving cost, and this cost that has been saved according to the status quo will be used to recover the investment cost that have been implemented at the beginning. So the key elements of this kind of contract is that we have an external organization, we call them energy service company, that are in charge of implementing energy savings measures in buildings, which is let's say the target of the project. But we can have also this kind of contract, APC contract, also for public lighting, for example, street lighting management. So the ESCO, the energy service company, implements energy saving measures in the building, the facility, as we can generalize. And as I said, the income from the cost savings is used to pay for investment. The contract is structured in a way that the payment is strictly linked to a performance. We call it energy performance contract. This means that the core of the contract is not the investment itself, but it's the performance. So we focus on the impact and not on the works that need to be implemented. Of course, works are needed, and this is a crucial step, but the works are paid only if they generate impact. Okay, so the core, the object of the contract is the performance. Since we focus on the performance and on impact that are generated, it is important that there is a method for measuring and verifying the energy savings year by year in a way that we are sure that the performance is achieved. Okay, and this method should be agreed at the beginning, so it should be clarified during the let's say definition of the contract itself. So let's have a look to a picture just to understand better what I tried to explain. Okay, we have a situation. Okay, we have this diagram where we have costs and over time, and we have a starting situation where there is energy bills. Okay, we are, no matter what it is, this value, but we pay for the energy service of the building, of the street lining, and so on. Okay, so we have, if we implement energy efficiency measures, there will be a situation where these energy bills will be reduced. Okay, because the investment, the works that we implement as a refurbishment, as a renovation, generate energy savings and by consequence energy cost savings. Okay, so this is the situation over time after the renovation that comes here. So what happens with an APC? We sign a contract that lasts for several years. So it could be 10 years, for example, where the ESCO implement the works using his own money generally, and the beneficiary of the renovation pays over time the amount that is linked to the savings that are generated by the investments. Okay, so we have part of the savings that are given back to the ESCO that anticipated the cost for the investment, so provided upfront costs for the works, and these money are given to the ESCO over time in a way that it is possible for the ESCO itself to recover the investment that is it was implemented. Okay, so the situation is also that we can see a slight savings according to the baseline of the energy bill, and this is a saving that is recorded directly on the balance sheet of the beneficiary. So after the signing of the contract, the beneficiary of the investment is paying the energy bill, is providing a fee to the ESCO, and it is also recording a saving. Okay, so we have a saving according to the baseline situation. Then when the contract is over, the beneficiary can enjoy, let's say, of the in full of the savings generated by the investment. Okay, this is the concept that I hope clarify a little bit the concept of the APC. Okay, so we have some key aspects, some key aspects of the APC that should be taken into consideration. For example, the APC should be viable, which means that we have to look for a situation which is self-sustainable from economic and financial point of view. So let's say if we go back to this picture, the overall amount of the fees paid over the duration of the contract is able to repay the investment costs that are needed to generate these savings. This is very important. Then we have an issue with the capital. As I said, the ESCO is in charge of implementing the works, and in general, the ESCO is anticipating the investment costs. So if I am an ESCO and I sign an EPC, I'm in charge to pay directly the investment with my own money, and then I get reimbursed over time based on the impact that my investment is generating. Okay, so this is important. For example, a municipality, a public authority that doesn't have the capacity to indebt itself, or don't want to, let's say, use its own money to make an investment, can go with an EPC looking for an ESCO willing to invest directly in its own facility, and sign with them a contract over time in order to repay the investment generated. But for an EPC to be a real EPC, there should be also risk. Okay, a risk associated to the fact that the performance is not achieved, for example. In this way, the ESCO have the interest to perform the investment at its best, in a way that the performance is achieved every year, so that they can get the money back in full. It is very important, the allocation of risk, because if the risk is not really very well allocated on the private investors, it could be a bit tricky situation for public authority. The EPC should be structured in a way that at the end, the ESCO is also facing the risk not to get all his money back. This is really important, because we have to match the interest of the ESCO to achieve a performance with the interest of the public authority in receiving the renovation works at the best. Then also the savings can be shared among the different parties. As I said to you, as I tried to show you in this picture, we have a part of the saving that is still and from the beginning in the end of the public authority itself. So I mean, this orange part could be higher, but in general, we say that it's better that from the beginning there is also a cost saving that is in the end of the public authority. This is also, and then what is really important is to create an energy baseline which is sound, structured, and designed in a correct way, because we have to fix the conditions under which the performance is, let's say, achieved, measured, and verified every year. So if we go back to this picture, I have to understand what is really the energy bill. Of course, this can be different year by year for several reasons. For example, one year is more the climate conditions are warmer, or there are some other variables linked to the occupancy rate of the building. For example, if you look back to the COVID outbreak, and if we're thinking about some public infrastructure such as schools or offices, it's clear that the level of occupancy in those years have been lower than the usual standard. Okay, this may also affect the energy cost. So it is very important that we create and we calculate the baseline, let's say, in a proper way. Generally speaking, we collect energy bills for 3 or more years, and we also take into consideration climate conditions and other variables in order to standardize the energy costs. And this is the starting point, because at the end, what I need to understand is how much money I can save and how much I can ask to the escrow. Okay, we will try to go through this process also in the follow-up of my presentation. So let's go on. Since the EPC is not a standard contract, and we introduce some level of innovation, which means that, for example, we have to look for private investors that use his own money and risk his own money for achieving a result, a performance which is not given for granted. So there is quite a high level of risk. It is important to bring other kind of innovation in the process. And an innovation that is very important is an administrative innovation. This kind of contracts works if the amount of investment are huge enough to attract solid investors that have the financial capacity to manage this kind of contract. So there is always the need to bundle, to aggregate more facilities in one single procurement process in a way to put on the market an investment pipeline which is quite attractive for these private investors. So there is the need of creating a bundling, and this was one of the key challenges that we brought in stepping projects. What does it mean to create a bundling? We can maybe see this picture. We invited several municipalities to join to the project, and each municipality have different buildings. Okay, we selected some of the buildings belonging to different municipalities, and we created a bundling. So the selected municipalities were taken together, signing an agreement, for example. And we prepared a joint procurement for more than one building at the same time. This is important because in this way we could increase the level of investment and we could make more attractive the process for the private investor. So the creation of bundling is an important step that requires quite a lot of work, efforts. In a way, we can say that the transaction cost of these processes are quite high. Okay, so for example, as a region, we coordinated the process, inviting the municipalities to provide information about their buildings. We collected the energy data. We selected the buildings based on some KPIs, and then we created the bundling with an agreement. Okay, so the process is that we have a bilateral, let's say, bilateral agreement with several municipalities that were bringing in 1, 2, 5 buildings each. Okay, so we have then we need a kind of lead partner that is in charge of the coordination of the small medium municipalities. And this lead partner was in charge to select a contracting authority that was then performing a joint procurement process. Okay, so this starting phase is really important, and it's I mean the public sector have a crucial role in this. I can go back this. So here, so there are several steps for the EPC, and this is the first part. Then when you have selected the building, then you have to perform an energy audit, which means you have to study the energy characteristic from technical point of view of each building and understand how much saving you can achieve with affordable energy measures. Okay, then you have a list of measures that each measure could cost some amount of money and could generate some savings over time. So we need to perform a financial simulation in order to understand how long should be the contract in order to include some or all the measures that have been studied, and to which conditions this is possible, okay? Because we said that the contract should be financial sustainable. Okay, then we have to select a contracting authority, or we have to give all the information to the contracting authority to prepare the tendering documents and go for a joint procurement. Let's move on a little bit. So the financial concept is in a way described by this picture. Let's see step by step. Okay, so I already said that we created the bundling. So we have this, we put all those buildings on the market with a joint procurement process that select, as we said, an ESCO, an energy service company, a private investors. So what they should do is to go on the market to take loans, I don't know, or use their own equity, and also try to get some incentives. Okay, this part is at their own risk. Okay, it should be like that. So they have the money to implement the renovation works. Okay, using the money they got on the market, or by their capacity, let's say. They implement the work, they perform the renovation works. This generates savings from energy point of view, but also from economic point of view. And signing this EPC contract, they get repaid from the investment they implemented over time using, let's say, the energy savings. Okay. In a way, this is a kind of win-win situation, because the public authorities, they go on paying the same amount of money or even a little bit less than they used to pay without renovation works. And the private investor, they are able to repay in full the investment they provided, and they also sign the contract over time, so they have plans for a longer period. We prepared some guidelines that are available on the website of the project. You can have access, of course, to this guideline. You are invited to see it. We provided the guidelines in separate languages. There is for sure English, but also Greek, Spanish, Italian, French, Portuguese, and Slovenian. The guidelines is a document that provides step-by-step, let's say, approach to understand in each of the steps that are needed to implement an EPC, what you have to do, but there is also a initial part where the met conditions are considered, just to contextualize and to provide the framework of the main area, which is not similar to, let's say, Central Europe area or other area where these contracts are also implemented. So there are several parts, points that are touched in this guideline, where you see pros and cons of the MED specificity. I don't want to go through all of this. For sure, one of the key points is that let's say the region where you implement this kind of contract should see the presence of private investors that are experienced in this kind of job, and they are solid enough to implement works. Then there is the step-by-step, let's say, part of the guideline, which is very important because we start from the beginning until the end. We create several steps, and for each steps are some actions are foreseen, and also in each actions there are some let's say lessons learned that are coming from the stepping project, where we can bring our experience in concrete, because in the project we try to implement this APC in several countries with a different level of achievements. Maybe we can have a look to one of the steps. I cannot go through all of them, but for sure, if you are interested, all this material are available online. For example, how to select a public authority. I already mentioned this is a preliminary step. So what we can do is to make a preliminary estimation of the public building stock energy saving potential. So we can call, let's say, public authorities to provide information about their buildings. Also, we can select some public authorities that are committed in the energy transition, that endorse the energy action plans and so on. It is also important, this is a key part, let's say, to see the political engagement of the public authorities, because there should be, let's say, a will to go to this kind of initiatives. Also, there is an issue, let's say, with the capacity of the staff. So it is important to set up dialogues, to provide information, training, and in a way capacity building. And it is important also to have a public authority or an entity that is able to coordinate the process. And then, as I said, also to have a preliminary assessment of the local market in order to understand if we have the right stakeholders on the ground, and maybe we can set up some kind of dialogue in order to understand how far to go with the APC. The process can be finalized then with a signature of an agreement between among the public authorities. Since they, let's say, give the proxy to a facilitation structure that will act on their behalf. So we need also to formalize from administrative point of view the decision. Okay, these are just examples in bullet point, but you can go through it in the document if you're interested. Then we also realized the training platform. We have several presentations about APC, each aspect from technical, from administrative, technical, and financial aspects, and all are touched with some details. And then also we delivered some kind of self-learning videos. So you have access to a YouTube channel of the project where you can find several videos that are where some experts on specific fields of the actions needed are explaining the issues. So you can have a look at this video. Also, it's another way to access to the information. And okay, I want to spend some other minutes to go through some details of the APC, and then for sure I'm available if you have any additional questions. So as I said, the APC is a process, starting with the selection of the building. Then we said there is an energy audit, the financial assessment. We have a procurement phase with the elaboration of tender, of specification, and blah, blah, blah. And then we have the signature of the contract with the ESCO. All these activities, as you can imagine, requires different kind of skills. Okay, we for sure need political engagement, we need administrative skills to bring together municipalities and coordinate them to work together. We have technical skills, engineering, let's say, skills in order to understand how far we can go with the renovation works and where we can achieve the most of the savings. let's say, energy efficiency, but also with installation of renewables and blah, blah, blah. And then we have, we need also financial and economic skills in order to understand the conditions from economic and financial point of view under which we can ask the ESCO to implement the works, and we also need legal expertise in order to define the tender documents and the contract in the proper way. All these phases are preliminary phases. And then we have activities that we perform after the contract is signed. There is one aspect which I haven't stressed enough, is the let's say role of the ESCO. They should implement the works. They have to use their own money. They have the risk linked to the performance, to the operational risks of the contract. In a way, since they have the risk, they also should be as free as possible to select the renovation measures that they want, because they will be paid on the basis of the performance achieved. So they should also have the capacity to design and make proposals that where they are convinced that are useful to achieve the performance. Okay, so they should also be free to design. This means that we go for a tendering process just with, let's say, energy audit. We understand what is possible to be done. We understand how much it would cost. We understand the financial condition behind, but then the specific design of the measure should be done by the ESCO itself. And this should come after the contract is signed. And of course, then the public authority should agree about what is the proposal of the ESCO. Then we have the implementation of the works, and then we have the management. The ESCO should be in charge of the management over time, as long as the contract is there, let's say. No? And it is on their own interest that the works are done properly and also managed in the right way. In this way, they are sure to be they can achieve the performance that is promised, let's say, in the contract. And then, as we said, every year this performance should be checked, and based on the check and the verification, the money is paid back to the ESCO on the basis of what has been established in the contract. Okay. Let me specify a little more in detail one issue which is very important. Okay, we go back to the picture that we had at the beginning. We have a kind of baseline. Okay, this part of the diagram, the whole bar is the entire bar is the baseline. As we said, if we implement renovation works, the energy consumption and the energy costs decrease after the renovation. This should be the case, of course. So we save some money, and this money are used either to repay the investment and to provide some economic savings to the public authority. Okay, so we have a baseline, then we have energy saving. This energy saving is used in terms of cost of money to repay the investment and to provide some savings to the beneficiary. I repeat myself just to make sure this is clear. What we can do is, for sure, fix more challenging performance to be achieved, so more challenging energy savings targets or less challenging energy saving targets. Of course, if we ask, for example, 60% of energy savings, and this would require a higher amount of investment because we have to implement more measures. okay? But we have more savings achieved, or we can ask for less energy savings and less investment. This depends on the assessment phase that we are implementing in this process, okay? And it is important, it is crucial, this phase, because we should understand really what is possible with the buildings and the facilities we are managing, okay? In this way, we can ask more or less depending on our will, but this also affects the duration of the contract. For sure, if we ask a lot of savings and so a lot of investments to be implemented, for sure, we should give enough time to this measure to be paid back. Okay, so we need maybe longer contract in order to repay the investment that are implemented. This is really a balancing games that should be performed at the beginning in order to understand how far we can go with what we ask. In order to solve this, okay, we have a lot of variables to be taken into consideration. Also, not only technical options and financial options, but also the will of the, for example, public authorities. Maybe there are authorities that don't want to sign a longer contract. They are fine with some minor investments, and because at the end they have plans to do something by their own. So it is also based on the decision. Here you have a long list of variables that you should take into consideration when performing this economic and financial analysis, and also you have to fix some economic indicators under which the financial sustainability is guaranteed. I don't want really to go into detail, but because this is quite technical, but it's quite a tricky job. In order to ease a little bit the life of this game, let's say, or this financial assessment, we delivered a kind of APC simulation tool. It's a software available online. It's openly accessible. You just have to register. And you can go in this on this web page. You can sign in, and with this tool you can simulate different conditions and different scenarios to in a way that the APC is feasible. There is also manual where you can get informed how to use the simulation tool, of course. So I think this is the last information I wanted to provide. I thank you very much. I hope my presentation was not too technical or was at your interest. So I'm just at disposal for any kind of questions from your side. Thank you.
So thank you, Silvio, for your presentation, and of course for showcasing us how the stepping project produced and created that EPC, and of course the simulation tool that you mentioned later on. I wanted to ask, you mentioned at one stage that there is a checking, if I'm correct, that there is a checking process for EPC at the end. I wanted some more details how this checking is done, because you also mentioned the simulation tool. So is this done after simulation and the results of simulation and the physical result? Are there KPIs that have to be checked? Could you clarify this? Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very good question. Thank you. So the simulation, let's say, it's just to prepare the tendering procedure. Okay, the procurement, in order to understand what you can ask to the market, let's say, as a baseline, as a energy saving targets, etc. Then there is the verification and measurement of the performance, which is performed ideally, let's say, every year, in order to understand if the impact that was promised in the contract by the ESCO is achieved or not. And for sure, this is a tricky part because, as you can imagine, I already mentioned a little bit this. You can have 1 year that is warmer, another year that is colder. Then there is a change in the occupancy of the building, if we are speaking about building. But there could be also some changes in the management or in the requirement of the temperature that you have to keep in the rooms. I don't know. There are several variables. So generally, there should be a measurement and verification plan that should be enclosed in the tendering documents in a way that the ESCO is informed how this process will be performed year by year. And there are KPIs and also methods of calculation of these KPIs that are in a way agreed being set during the procurement phase. All is the starting point is the energy consumptions, and so you have to check what are the energy consumption every year. So okay, there should be a measuring point and a counter and so on. And then there are these variables that should be taken into account in order to standardize the numbers in order to make it comparable to the baseline. But it's clear that this is a crucial phase, because if the performance is not achieved, you cannot pay in full, let's say, what is promised and written in the contract. And everything should be specified since the beginning in a document.
So in this document, through the EPC tool, you are facilitating the procurement phase. The evaluation has to be included, at least a description based on what you mentioned earlier. And of course, there has to be measurements through the years to be compared with the baseline in order to visualize the result, and in order to know how we proceed, and in order to have this kind of checking process. Okay, yeah. Perfect. Yes, yeah. Now I can fully understand it, and also to maybe further include this in our work as well. Thank you, Silvio, for your answer. So at this time, I want to ask the participant if there is another question based on your presentation.
Sorry, I have one question for Silvio's presentation.
Thank you. Go ahead,
please.
Okay. Silvio, you mentioned the guide in the EPC journey and the step on how to select a public authority. I wanted to ask if this applied with the same steps when it comes to public authorities and external experts. For example, in the case of SEACAP for SDG, there are external experts that assist the municipalities. So how are these steps different? Thank you.
I'm not sure I got your question properly. I mean, if the process of selecting external expertise and the process of selecting public authorities, beneficiaries of are the same? Was this the question? Or can you just reformulate?
Yes, are these steps different, or are the same steps on choosing the external experts to assist the municipalities on some project?
Well, of course, I bring my own experience. Let's say I work for a region, for a public authority, and I'm assisting municipalities, let's say, no? So there is no real procurement rules to be respected. What we do usually when we do this kind of job is to have some kind of open calls for interest, where we describe the action in a quite generic way, but try to be as specific as possible. So we describe the action, and we call for the municipality to apply if they are interested. In this way, we have a list of municipalities, maybe a longer list than we need, to prepare this kind of contract. But then we ask them for additional information and details. So on the basis on the I don't know, energy data that we ask them, or the characteristic of the buildings they would like to renovate, and blah blah blah. We make a selection and we create a short list of public authorities. Maybe we exclude some buildings because they don't have the technical characteristic that we need, or for example, they have some kind of other constraints. For example, they already have a contract that is quite long, so this cannot be breached, or they have some architectural constraints that doesn't make very feasible. For example, if we want to insulate walls or things like that. So we make a short list based on technical KPIs, let's say, but in principle, we keep it open to everybody, and then we try to select the best buildings according to some defined KPIs. Of course, when we select the external expertise to provide us technical assistance, we follow a different procedure. It's more strict and more linked to public procurement. Yeah, so it's a different job, I would say.
Yeah. So it is a completely different selection. I understand completely now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Getting back from that kind of question, I just want to mention that since for SEACAP for SDG project, there was a process to select the municipalities, so we can understand several what you were mentioning earlier. But we were trying to facilitate municipalities based on their SEACAP plan or equivalent that they have, what has been done in the municipality itself, and of course, based on the location, we have different characteristics that we want to showcase. For example, Eastern and Southern Mediterranean countries have different phases. One have buildings, or others focus more on the municipality itself and the energy efficiency. So we understand what you were talking earlier, and of course, it is understandable that when it comes to public authorities, the procurement issue has to be stricter, etc., and their external expertise. So thank you very much. And I believe that at this time, if we don't have any more questions, we can end today's session here. Thank you very much for being part of the SEACAP for SDG training session, for showcasing us the stepping project and what has been done. Do you want to mention anything else?
No.
Yeah. Of course, we will facilitate any communication we may have with the participants or the other project partners if they have relevant questions. For example, the simulation tool, I believe some of them could be useful. It could be further visualized and showcased within our project if they select the municipality select to use it. One further question, because I'm not sure if I got it right, about the simulation tool. It was a part of the stepping project, or it was done as an extension to stepping plus? I'm not sure I got it right.
Yes, we created this during stepping process, but it was just an Excel sheet, an Excel file that was available online. But then with Stepping Plus, we turned it to be a kind of software, so it's even more friendly usable, let's say, from anybody. So it's easier to use it now, and it is a web tool, so it's you don't need to download anything, and you just
perfect. And it is you mentioned that anyone can apply to have an account, to create an account, and then we would be able to have more information to see the tool itself. Or is there, I want to ask, is there another different roles, because some kind of these tools have different roles for public authorities, external expert, or is the same tool for everyone?
No, it's the same tool for everyone. You create your account and you work with your own projects. Nobody can see, let's say, your project. So it depends who you are. You can use the tool for your purposes. Yeah, you just create, let's say, your account and you work with your own project.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you. We will have to check this out since you mentioned it. We will try to facilitate to see how we can create an account and maybe see if we can use it in our case
Okay.
for our municipality. And of course, other project partners are welcome to do this as well. So Silvio, thank you very much for joining us today and for your very useful presentation regarding the project. And of course, I want to thank Ms. Julia Skilone that was here for the presenting of the first part of the session. I think that now we are finishing up with a SEACAP for SDG training session. We only have 2 more sessions left. One session for the MEDECOSU project and the final session for the BIP project. And we will be able to have all the selected projects and outcomes showcased and be visualized as well through the training session and the presentation for the participant and the project partners to use for the select municipality. So thank you very much for joining us today, both to you, Silvio, and Julia, and thank you to every participant that have been with us for this past few weeks for the training sessions. We only have at the first week of December, the final 2 sessions, and we will be closing this training part of the SEACAP for SDG project. So thank you very much. I hope it was informative and we could use it for our project and every other use we may think of. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.